A bit much. Wow, where to start? Together 9 years, married 7. Fast wedding because of baby. We now have 2 sons. She was 21 and I was 23 turning 24 when we got married and had our first boy. This youth is a big problem in her mind when she plays back the story of her life. She is a deeply troubled and depressed person. All of her close relationships in her life are broken down. Does not speak with her dad. Cousins and sisters don't care to be around her because she is so aggressive and insulting to everyone. On the other hand, she can have a wonderful heart and can be very loving and supportive. Especially to me. I was always the light of her life when she was having problems elsewhere. Her crutch. I don't think it was a healthy dynamic. I put up with too much emotional manipulation, walking on eggshells, and began to check out of the communication. Speaking about important things would always result in her going into a rage. Then I was of course the cold, distant, heartless bad guy that didn't value her or make her feel appreciated when I put up a wall. So difficult to walk the tightrope. She wants to leave now. I dragged her unwillingly from our home in a small town to the big city 4 years ago so I could get a degree and provide a better life for our family. I graduated with honors and now have a good job down here. She always felt like she had nothing, so 2 years ago I invested in her to start photography when we couldn't afford it. It was all for her happiness and to compensate for the drive of our lives being led by me. I did not consult with her enough on these big decisions. I forced her hand. It was foolish of me. We had to move into the basement suite of my parents' home. She hated this from day one and made it very unpleasant for everyone. Her and my brother can't get along and she would focus on every negative aspect. She said she tried so hard to see the positive, kept trying, and ultimately was putting on a brave face and only staying for the kids. She said if we didn't have kids, she would have left years ago. My issues were that I did not set enough boundaries between the living arrangements of my parents and our family. I was weak in this, but I would talk to my parents about it and they were willing to make adjustments, but my wife would not be proactive in taking care of kids in our own suite. She did not make the effort to establish a home in the basement, which forced my mom to take care of the kids while she edited Facebook on the computer all day and night. She is in the other town now, in our home that we own, and has been for the past month to do photography and build up some money for us to move out. While she was away, she had the epiphany that she doesn't want to be with me anymore. Before she left, she had a ballistic episode where she was screaming at the kids at the top of her lungs. I stepped in to stop it and, in the process, lost my temper with her too, shaking her shoulders and yelling at her to calm down. I am normally so calm, but I love my kids so much and her emotional abuse of them made me snap. I apologized for my behavior but told her how her behavior is affecting the kids. I think that episode was the catalyst. She is now crying all the time, under stress up there, and saying that she is done. She tells me she needs to find herself and discover what she wants in life. She says she is afraid of becoming her dad and she can see it happening. She wants to fix herself, do exercises and maybe do counseling. But she doesn't seem to want to fix our marriage. She tells me I deserve someone better and that she feels I am embarrassed of her. I love her so much, but I don't know if we should be together. I suspected emotional cheating up there with a close friend who has preyed on women in distressed relationships before. She was hanging around with him an awful lot and I voiced my displeasure. She has agreed not to see him until she returns. I have bits and pieces of conversations off of her Facebook. I have passwords and she know it, where she is talking about things with friends and he comes into the conversation. She sends them links to his picture. Her explanations sound good and ultimately, we have our problems, but I feel there is something there. I may be able to snoop better when she returns on Wednesday with her laptop and phones. So, when she gets back, we are going to try, but she says she doesn't want me to be too hopeful. She wants to take it as it comes, one day at a time until June when she has to go back to the small town to do all the weddings she has up there. This is when our official separation is supposed to start. She even wants to give me all her equity in the home and will write it down in a formal agreement when she gets back. She wants me to keep the kids and agrees it is better for them. She tells me she loves me sometimes, but in discussion often says she doesn't know if she is still in love anymore. That the kind of love has changed. Really weird thing to hear. Never expected I would hear that from her. She has always adored me. Our bonding is amazing. I leave her laughing, crying hysterical mess on a regular basis. And apparently this guy that I'm worried about has a very small penis and is a real nutjob a few months into relationships. But that's irrelevant at this point. What do? 180 her when she gets back. Treat her with kindness. We already agreed to have a good time when she returns. Help please. I feel I should try, make individual changes in both of us and make a healthy, strong, intact family for the kids. If possible. I never wanted to get divorced, but could it be better for the kids in the end? She doesn't want to live here in the city and I don't really want to live up there in the small town, so ultimately it may be a fundamentally lost cause. 2 weeks later, I have been away making sense of everything, trying to get perspective. She is here with me now in the city and I tried to coax some hope out of her to reconcile in order to be a family. For the love that we have for each other and for the kids. Did not work. We had bonding 4 nights in a row. She cuddled with me after and I can tell that there is love there. She just wants to be free. Monday was our 7th-year wedding anniversary. We went out to our favorite Italian restaurant on Sunday night, enjoyed a good meal, talked about serious stuff. Cried on the way home and made love for that 4th night in a row. She fell asleep on my chest with music playing on her phone. I then took her phone while she slept and plugged it into this thing. I read many deleted messages and my suspicions about that guy are true. From what I gather, they have not slept together yet, but she has wanted to. They have probably gotten somewhat physical and have been sneaking around a lot, talking about me and hiding it from everyone. I'm grossed out. He is the one that slowed it down out of fear of repercussions and because she is still married to me and needs to figure her crap out. He even said something about needing space. She is pursuing him. Pisses me off. I am steak and he is hamburger on so many levels. A tear down is so true. So far, I have quietly exposed to her family and her well-respected big uncle is going to have a talk with that guy and put me on the phone so I can speak with him. I'm going to ruin that little fantasy for her because it's just not right to do that to me. And then I'm going to let her go and take the deal she is giving me. But I will give her a few calm choice words about integrity, character, and how disappointed I am in her. I will tell her that as of right now friendship is off the table because friends don't betray each other like that. We will be friendly for the kids and that's it. I know she really cares for me and wants my friendship. It will break her heart, but I don't deserve this. If I'm being honest, I still want to sleep with her for the sake of bonding, but I think that's a bad idea and sends the wrong message. I will abstain. And yes, she has always had emotional problems her whole life. She terrorizes people when she gets angry, which is often. Her family can't believe I stuck with her for so long. And yes, I have to figure out why I did choose to stay and why I even bothered fighting for this. My God, I have to let go of the pristine image of my life I had planned. So far, I have worked out 3 times in the last week and it feels great. I am super excited to get ripped and pumped this summer and get lots of new people. Any advice on when to confront and how to? Should I kick her out of our bed? I was hoping to wait until after her uncle and I talk with that guy and then blow it open on her. She will be so shocked. She thinks I'm oblivious right now. She is more like bipolar than BPD, to be honest, in my unprofessional opinion. I've thought about this over the years. Just complete mood swings and rages over pointless stuff, but is not jealous or totally insane. Definitely emotionally manipulative and terrorizing though. She thinks I'm oblivious and bought her lies. What do I say when I confront? I want to do it now. The waiting is killing me. I have already exposed quietly to her family. They are 100% with me and very upset with her. Her uncle is going to have a sit down with this guy and get me on the phone to speak with him. Her uncle is well respected and feared. He has my back. I was hoping to wait for this first, then confront so everything crumbles down at once for her. What do I do? Does it now? What do I say? Kick her out of our marital bed? She's gone anyway. She doesn't want to be in relationship with me, but I want to make a statement. I know she loves me and is probably still in love with me, but wants out. Wants freedom while at the same time really desires my friendship. I don't want to give that to her after betraying me. 2 months later, basically, she returned and we spent quite a lot of time together. I chided her over her behavior and her messing around. I told her any contact with him and it would be a major betrayal and would not be interested in being friends with her at all. We slowly progressed. She showed remorse and regret for doing that but promised nothing physical. The text messages indicated nothing physical. However, it could have happened after the texts and right before she returned. Anyway, we spent a month together and I put the affair out of my mind for a while as we were planning on separating anyway. I acted like I was okay with the idea and that it might be good for me too. Whatever was my attitude. At the same time, we treated each other really well and started to build the bonds back. Lots of bonding and I love you. She returned to her hometown 2 weeks ago to begin our official separation and was quickly hospitalized by severe pain. It turned out to be an ectopic pregnancy which could have ended her. I questioned her on whether it was mine or his. The timing left it possible to be his. She still swore nothing physical, so there was no way according to her. Anyway, it had to be removed in an emergency surgery. The surgery and dangerous ordeal changed her and she came to the realization that she loves me and wants to be with me. And the kids. So, we are back on and she is coming back soon. Meanwhile, little does she know, her cousin, more friend to me than her, got some info from her friend who is now dating this guy. He spilled some beans in confidence, but it got back to me. He said he regrets it. She is crazy and doesn't want anything to do with her. He said she took advantage of him and never would have touched her if he wasn't drunk. And he never will again. Does that sound like making out between two 28-year-olds to you? It sure doesn't to me. That sounds like bonding. He was making out with her quite a bit before that, I think. He stopped talking to her when she came back to the city with me and the boys. I think they had slept together before she came back and he regrets that. Now, I don't feel comfortable just taking her back the way things stand. Things are really good between us and she doesn't know I have this info and I'm having these thoughts. How do I maintain my self-respect, provide consequences to her and also get her to admit it without completely revealing my source? What do you think I should say? Should I wait for her to return in 2 weeks? Should I ask for the right to have my own separation and fun time? Not fair that she gets to and I just take her back. After hearing what he said just 2 days before her surgery, I have been debating whether I should stay with her or not. I do love her and we are good together in many ways. Great bonding, lots of fun, emotions and great companionship when things are going well. She is all I know for long-term relationships. It could be part of it. I had an idea in my head of being a family. I want our boys to have 2 parents together, working together. Divorce would be very stressful logistically too. Plan B. Don't think this is it, to be honest. I have gone through this many times. I don't think he was a plan A. He was only a few weeks thing. He was more like an easy landing. Of course he got out of the way and the landing got rough. Still a bit plan B. And it does bother me, yes. If the relationship fails, I don't see more other man truthfully. At this point it's more likely that if it fails, it will just fall apart more quickly without another person involved. We'd both be too tired of it and call it quits. Her lover is not much of a lover from what I hear anyway. I outshine him in that department by great lengths. She wants to do counseling. I'm thinking a certified therapist if we do. Abused. Yeah, emotionally manipulated for sure. She cries and I want to save her. I don't want to be her white knight anymore. It makes sense that there wouldn't be another OM because it was too stressful for her. We would just end the relationship more definitively first. That's what she was trying to do this time while using OM as a crutch. Our problems began long before him. She just did a really crappy thing and it's hard to forgive, even if I don't think there would be another man. People are right though, I can't trust, which are 2 conflicting thoughts. Messed up. I'm being delusional about what happened and far too accepting. If I had been reading my own thread 1 year ago, I would be giving myself a good kick in the ass. I need to break it off and set my boundaries. Only if she begs and grovels for months should I consider reconciling. I think it would be simpler if I was feeling pain and anger. Why am I not as bothered as I thought I would be? As I was in the beginning, I almost feel indifferent to it all now. To her, I don't miss her or yearn for her at all. I also am excited at the thought of dating other girls now. Just never pictured me getting divorced. Never pictured having a cheating wife either, mind you. Comments. You're desperate and in denial. You show how truly deeply you in the denial stage. She throws you a little bone in the form of saying she wants to fix the marriage, and then you're all over it. I'll tell you this right now, if you decide to R at this point, you will only be in false RO sure. She might stop for now, or she may contact the OM and restart the affair. Fishing. You even believe her lies about you are being better in bed than him. Do some reading about affair bonding and why it's so intense. Hot. She probably even told you he couldn't even finish half the time and that she thought about you the whole time she was sleeping with him. OP responds, if you were curious as to why she was so angry that day, this is why. Her cousin was in town and needed a ride to the airport. It was a set, but I was working at home to earn extra money so we could move out as soon as possible. She thought I was going to go for the ride to the airport with her, but it wasn't possible. I told her I couldn't and she flipped out. She ran off to get the kids ready and started screaming at them as loud as I think a human can. Everyone that was around was in shock. Oftentimes when she's in these states she is physical with them and I get worried. So, I rushed over to the other side of the house and I saw her state and the looks on the kids' faces and did what I did. Obviously, I made the situation worse for the kids, but that's what happened. She is not all monster though. She has a good heart, can be sweet and loving, and is actually always encouraging and supportive. She has never made me doubt her loyalty at any point until now, which is why it's so shocking to me and everyone that heard. She had only been with 3 guys before me. I was 4, and it's probably number 5 with OM. I'd put it at 1% chance they didn't do it. I want to tell her I know. Should I just do it over the phone before she comes back on the 14th? Or wait? Waiting sucks. And I know there is nothing going on between them anymore because I have the inside scoop that she doesn't know I have. He is majorly into this girl that he's with. He used to be with her. Screwed it up and now has her back. He told her that she was the best he ever had. This girl had a 5-year-long relationship with someone when she started seeing this guy the first time. Got back together with her long-term boyfriend. Got bored of him and is now back with this dirtbag again. Nice girl. I'm happy he's not into her so now I can have my wife back. Obviously that's an awful thought, but it's just a fact in case you were wondering if they were still messing around. There is no one else right now, just me and her and the decisions I need to make. Story 2. The other option. Hey guys and gals, I've been going through a lot lately and have no one to talk to about this. Because I know people will think I'm a horrible person. I've been happily married for almost 4 years, together for 5, but lately we've been having problems. See my other thread about how he's been falling asleep during bonding. I feel extremely attracted to another man. Sometimes I even think I've fallen in love with him. And I don't know what to do to stop it. I haven't done anything about it and I think this guy is not interested in me at all. So no possibility of a P. We are really good friends and I wouldn't dare telling him about what I feel. I feel guilty for having these feelings and I wish I could shake them off. I love my husband and want to be with him forever. But I catch myself fantasizing not being married for one day and telling my friend how I feel about him. I've been really depressed and feeling like crap. My husband knows me a lot and has asked me if I'm in love with this guy. Since I'm extremely confused about my feelings, I told him no. After that, I keep my contact with my friend to a minimum and have tried to keep distance from him. It hurts so bad. Has anyone been in this situation? Any advice? Like I said, the other guy is not at all interested. He would be really upset if I ever told him that. There's no MC where I live ATM. I don't want to hurt my husband's feelings. I really do love my husband. I've had to overcome so much to stay together and make it work, and I don't regret it. Plan 9. You are right, it's an idealization and I should be aware of that. Reality is very different, and I choose my husband every time. I just want to learn how to deal with these feelings. There's nothing going on with the friend, only thoughts in my head, and I already feel horrible about those. I have kept distance with said friend and soon will part ways, so that will make it easier for me. I have been working so hard on my marriage, dealing by myself with my problems. It's hard to keep two threads. But during an argument my husband yelled, "Deal with your ducking crap," when I told him it was hard for me to feel rejected because of previous depression, anorexia problems I've had in the past. I have never let anyone talk to me like that, ever. It still eats me when I think about it. I'd say I started developing feelings for my friend after that. In our stupid society, women can't feel attracted to other people without being treated as W. I have no intention in pursuing anything with another person. These other comments don't affect me as they don't help me. You are right, I have no reason to lie here and am not seeking validation. Just constructive advice on how to deal with this. I have never felt this attracted to anyone during our relationship and I think it's because we are having problems. I know what I feel for my husband and that I respect him. That's why we have talked about this. I told him at one point that I was afraid of falling in love with this guy. We are really honest and don't hide things from each other. Comments. There's plenty of women other than my GF I'd be physically attracted to, which is I don't make a habit of being too close to them. And if it does get somewhat heavy, then I shut it down, which is what OP here failed to do. She's like most people in an EA, trying to pigeonhole an easy way out. But there is no easy way. She's trying to say she's sparing her husband's feelings, yet he's already asked point blank about the affair. Man is already hurting. She needs to woman up, take responsibility for actions, and then they can get past this. Because unless you've forgotten, she's lying to her husband currently. And I think that's much more important than telling her that having an EA is okay and natural when it really isn't. Husband is boxing with an invisible opponent, and because she insists on lying to him, he's going to lose out to a fantasy eventually. Also, don't presume to know much about me or my circumstances. Since one affair nearly killed me, I don't imagine I'll be taking part in any. My karma is clear. She's telling herself things she wants to believe, but I'd rather call her out and inform her of it so she can change rather than justify it like some people are. Weeks later, OP updates. People can be very judgmental, especially if they've been hurt. I would never cheat on my husband. I am not a step away from doing it. The attraction thing happened 5 months after we started having problems, and probably only because we had problems. The problem itself is deeper than being just physical. It hurt me that he wouldn't talk about it. I've always thought we could go through anything together, until he told me to deal with my decking crap and I felt like I lost my partner. For the first time in 5 years, I felt we were not a couple. I have never considered the possibility of cheating. I will never tell our friend about it, because I believe what some people have said here. It's not real, it's a fantasy. My intention here was to learn from people who have been in a similar situation how to cope and deal. Not find excuses to cheat. I don't have to convince any of you that I won't cheat. Some of you need to grow up and grow out of your grief. I will write more later, because my break is almost finished. It felt good to get it out of my chest and I already feel better about it. Saw our friend and felt nothing. Actually, I thought it was funny that I had those thoughts. Story 3. I met my wife 6 years ago. We were inseparable from day one. Classic love story, I suppose. About a year into the relationship, before we were married, she broke up with me saying she just wasn't happy. We were apart for about 3 weeks, at which time she came back and said she wanted to have a child with me. About a year later, we had a beautiful son, and we were talking about getting hitched. About 6 months after that we had our baby. We got married, an absolutely beautiful and perfect wedding. We both thought so. Then, only 4 months later, she starts telling me, again, that she isn't happy in a relationship with me. I was devastated, and it was much more painful as I watched her walk out of my life again. This time I felt for good. I found out from one of her friends that she had had an affair with an ex of hers. Right around the time we split. We were separated for about 3 months, during which time she flip-flopped quite a bit, even sleeping over with me some nights as if nothing had happened, confused. All the while I'm spending 90% of the time with our son, because she was always out. Towards the end of the 3 months, she even took her wedding ring off and was being very cold to me. I thought we were done for sure at that point. Yet, the 3 months went by, and she slowly started coming back into my life. I wanted things to work so badly. Not just for us, but for our son. We both had a much greater appreciation for each other this time around, and she was telling me she loved me like every 10 minutes. She told me she would not leave me again. A few months later, we decided to try to have another child. We wanted a daughter, and, about a year later, we got our wish. She would always tell me how much she loved me and how I was her soulmate. She even talked about renewing our vows. Well, 2 years go by, and once again, she tells me she is not happy with me and wants to move out. Another affair was involved, and once again, had to find out from one of her best friends. This time was very different. The wedding ring came off almost immediately, and I found filled out divorce papers in her drawer one day. Never did tell her that I had found them, and the most different thing was, she didn't move out like she'd planned. She was unemployed and didn't have a lot of options for somewhere to go. So, I supported her for nearly 3 months. Hardest thing I've ever had to do. I watched as she went out nearly every night all dolled up with her friends, while I stayed at home with our kids. It hurt so bad and was so stressful that I became sick for a short while. I asked if she would go to counseling, and she wasn't having it. It seemed hopeless. About a month into this, we have been separated for 5 months as of now. Her tune started to change a bit. She was being nice and sending me smileys through text messages saying good morning, etc. So, I took a shot in the dark and asked her if we could work things out, and to my surprise she actually seemed receptive, and said maybe. But not right now. I'm not sure. I don't know if I love you. This went on for another 2 months back and forth, resulting sometimes in some pretty nasty arguments. I would ask her to work things out. She would say she wasn't sure, but maybe down the road, maybe someday. We argued because I thought she was stringing me along, or being nice to me so she could continue to have a place to stay, and she would swear to the heavens that wasn't the case. But she also maintained that she still had to be on her own for a while to decide. As we finally moved into separate places, I found out she threw away the divorce papers. That gave me a dangerous amount of hope. I thought this meant something big, and I jumped the gun very recently. About 3 weeks ago, we had one more of those arguments over text messages, and she told me there was no way we could be together again. That she was done. So, I need help. I love this woman more than life itself, and that will never change, and we have 2 beautiful kids together. I just want my family back. I don't know if she will even come back this time, or if I should take her back if she does. But it has been 5 months now, and the pain and emptiness is just as bad as the day it happened at times. I still feel like we were meant to be. Maybe I'm being naive. Comments. Sorry, but honestly, she's not a real wife. Never has been to you. She has been someone who stayed with you between her boyfriends, and you have accepted that from her, so she continued to do it. Being with such a promiscuous woman, you really should think out DNA checking the kids. They very likely may not be yours. She may in fact be using you to raise her affair kids. I know that is hurtful to think about, but given her history, it's very likely. Please divorce her. Women who treat men like this are evil. She has killed your self-esteem so badly that even after her constant cheating and living as a cuckold, you still would take her back. You're better than this. She isn't coming back to stay with you. She might return if the current BF doesn't work, but she won't ever be faithful. She has no respect for you, and at the moment you're raising her kids, and maybe even paying for her lifestyle. Please stop being a doormat to her. You are setting a horrible example for the kids. OP responds, I feel like I should address something that a few of you have brought up. The kids are mine. 100%, there's no doubts there. Believe me, the affairs, and the falling out between us for that matter, happen after the kids are born, almost like clockwork. Son was around a year old. We split up and she acts like a wild child. Daughter reaches a year. Same thing. In between those times, we were actually very close. Was she faking those feelings? Maybe, maybe not. Was she using me? Very possible. I can tell you that I am usually quite perceptive. I know that at least some of those feelings were genuine, knowing her as well as I do. I know she would not have decided to have children with me or marry me unless that's what she truly wanted. At the time, of course, I am not without fault in this. It's a rare day when one person is solely responsible for a failed marriage. However, I never abused her, and I always tried to treat her with respect and be there for her. I agree, I have been a doormat. Love does that to me. It's happened to me before. I think she gets overwhelmed with the responsibilities and takes it out on me. I have the kids a lot at first, then she starts coming around. Weird thing is, she used to tell me things like she couldn't sleep well if I wasn't in bed with her. She'd wake up in the middle of the night calling me, things like that, and this was kind of recent before the split, couple of months. I don't know what could have changed her feelings so drastically. My comment, You really need to ask yourself if what she is doing to you, disrespect about as bad as it can get from a wife, is worth your self-esteem. What I am saying isn't said lightly. I know how difficult this has to be for you and the kids. Don't you want to be truly happy around your children? Sit her down and make it clear to her that this is it. She won't get another chance. Give her an ultimatum. Yes, you have that right. You have been far too patient. Be strong, serious and firm, but polite so that it looks like you mean it and are sincere. Find someone who will respect you. There are many women out there that actually do love, care and respect their marriage vows and their spouse. Your wife isn't one of them. Remember, don't be the plan B.